Welcome to yet another episode of the Prima Jope Show. My name is Prima Jope, your host, and what we bring you at the Prima Jope Show is life lessons through coaching and consulting from the School of Hard Knocks. If you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing, and if this is valuable to you, consider sharing it with a colleague who might be a coach consulting or considering taking the expertise into coaching or consulting. The goal of this show is for you that is new to coaching and consulting. Would love to share our hard-earned lessons from our wounds, from our scars, from everything that we wish we knew before today, so that you can avoid some of those mistakes. For you that is already in the game, we want to share this behind the scene kind of work so that you know that you're not alone. Coaching and consulting is a very big opportunity for people. But what people don't tell you is that it's not a garden of roses. It has its punches, it has its ups, it has its downs. Everything in the weeds is not always as rosy as people want you to think it is. And so my goal is that from this show, you will come to a place where you really understand the naked truth or honest truth of what goes behind the scenes of coaching and consulting. It will be me on most episodes, but I will invite in my friends who have scars in the business and have wounds from this and have real life lessons to share when it comes to their journey of coaching and consulting and the mistakes they made that they wish they did not. I hope this serves you, and let's get into it. Today's episode is about the underrated clarity. The clarity that nobody ever seems to talk about. The clarity that doesn't come from you building another plan. The clarity that doesn't come from you building another funnel. The clarity that doesn't come from you reading another book, you taking another lesson, you hiring another coach. The clarity that is accessible to you that I want to encourage you to tap in today. My lesson today after all of this is if it doesn't feel good, it possibly has to go. That's the lesson from this episode. If it doesn't feel good, it possibly has to go. I started my business in 2014 when I quit my job. This was a business of fashion. I sold high-end fashion items to the corporate men in Africa. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a business coach. I just didn't think I needed those things. Where I come from in Uganda, that stuff is like not really very evident. Like people start a business without any idea of anything about business. Anyhow, all I knew is that I had to get items in the store and I had to sell them to people who wanted them. And the only thing in my mind, which I even learned the hard way, is the more expensive the items were, the better the client got. But I had to first get slapped a few times to understand this. I had two items in the store, the things that cost more money and the things that were cheap. I placed them in the store and we had two types of clients coming in. The clients that wanted it the cheapest and the clients that wanted the best thing. And so as I began to serve these people, I started to realize something. The people that wanted the cheap thing even wanted it cheaper. So they wanted a discount on the already cheap thing. These were like $5, $10. And people still wanted a discount. People still came in and said, when do you have a sale on this? And so it was never cheap enough for them to want to buy it. They even wanted a discount on that. I thought that was interesting. Beyond that, they had so many things they wanted. What's the color? And is it, I don't know, the right fit? And is it skinny enough? And is it short enough? And is it the latest trend, and is it the greatest and, most amazing thing on the planet right now? It's like I couldn't hold an item for a month before they thought it was outdated. And they wanted it in all these different colors that would run out of season most times. And so I found myself having to stock all of the time to keep up with this client and literally wasting tons and tons of hours in the process. These guys would walk in and they would, for hours and hours, be bargaining on something for $15. I just took notes. It was very confusing for me because it was already cheap. They still wanted it cheaper. On the other hand, though, I had 1 out of 10 clients who wanted this other side of what I had. It was the perfumes, it was the suits, it was the shoes that cost $100, $500, $1,000, $2,000. These were kind of luxury items that people bought because they wanted something genuine. So there was this thing I bought from China for Africa. Like, that's the most terrible thing you can have, China for Africa. And then we had these, which we got in China, but for Europe. And so I realized that I had 10 people wanting this cheap thing and 1 person wanting this, but this person had 1 question. Prima, is it my size? This guy's 10 questions. This guy over here, 1 question. Is it my size? They would take it and they would come back with, can you swap my wardrobe next time? When you go shopping next, can you swap my wardrobe? So I'd move from 500 to 5,000 with this guy. This guy is here, $10, $15 in months in. They just wanted the latest stock, which if you brought, they would say they would come back in 2 weeks. And by the time they come back, the thing is now outdated and doesn't serve them. I picked my lesson from there and just knew that whatever market I wanted to serve somebody who had more money than they had time. In 2020, my bricks and mortar closed down due to COVID. And I couldn't run this business anymore. That's how I came online. One of the main reasons I came online really was to save my mom. But then I got in the vibe. After the first client, I really loved doing this. I got the second and the third. And before I knew it, I was a 6-figure coach. But what I forgot is that for me to get there, I used the same approach I used offline. You bring things to the market, and if people like them, you bring more, and if they don't like them, you stop bringing. So I took my ideas to market, and if people bought it, I brought more. If they didn't buy it, I just pivoted and kept moving. This was a skills that I brought in the coaching space that helped me make my first 6 figures. But then after I made my first 6 figures, I began to complicate this business. I had 3 pillars, which is we have a product to sell, we have a market to sell it to, so we have a place we are marketing that thing, and we have a sales process to convert the right person into a customer. That was a simple process I had offline. Product to sell, a market to sell it to, so you're marketing, and then a way to convert these people into customers. After my first 6 figures, I started to complicate my business. I moved from these 3 pillars and I now had 12 pillars. I began to change my audience. I began to change the problem I was solving. I began to care about websites. How did I make my first 6 figures? I just had the Facebook profile. I went on there. I shared my message and I said, send me a message if you'd like to work with me. I sold 1-to-1. And then when I couldn't do 1-to-1 anymore because people were many, I just grouped them up and started serving them. I did not go to a school to learn how to coach. I just learned how to coach by coaching, which is what I call the school of hard knocks. I just learned how to do the next thing by doing it. And if I needed the tactics and the strategy, that is when I went and picked a course to learn how to deliver that specific item. So I did not solve any problem before I had it. Anyhow, I realized that I was complicating my business 1 piece at a time. It started moving from having a different banner every couple of days, sometimes every couple of weeks, sometimes every couple of months. I realized I was beginning to shift my message every time. Something began to get off slowly. My momentum began to die down slowly. My customers began to feel uncomfortable. And one day, a customer sent me a message and said, you know what, Prima, you've been changing your message every minute that I wonder if I'm still your dream client. That's what she told me. In that moment, I knew I had to watch out. I recall that year, most of my clients did not renew because I was changing my message all of the time, adding bits and pieces to what I was doing, adding levels and levels of coaching. I think I had like different offers for one-to-one and then different group programs. And then I started to build a team. And so now people weren't accessing me. Now they were accessing somebody else. And then I think I began to build funnels. I began to care about websites. I began to care about being professional. I began caring about editing stuff. And I just kept feeling like I was going down a hole that I didn't know how to get out of. My business got more complicated and more complicated and more complicated. I started to spend more time in my head thinking about how to get it right. My audience began to feel that, and they began to move further and further away. Whereas before, I was just creating motion. Something comes, boom. Something comes, boom. Something comes, boom. My coach described me as, Prima, you are a spinning wheel. Stop caring about everything else. You're like a washing machine. You go in the market, you spin, and whoever can catch a part of you does. You're not the kind of person to go behind the scenes and start building a business plan. You're not the kind of person to start overthinking things. Let me tell you exactly what I was doing in that time. I spent weeks and weeks trying to perfect my problem. Then I added on weeks and weeks, trying to carve out an exact avatar. Then I spent about 3 to 4 months building the funnel, writing the perfect website copy, putting together the webinar, perfect webinar, fixing the email sequence for whoever came to me from wherever they found me. And then I started to create these endless lead magnets that nobody wanted, that nobody cared about. I got into the creation and I spent a good 6 months there creating stuff that sounded good in my head. And then I turned around days later and decided it wouldn't work because I posted once and people didn't like it. And so I moved from this person who would get an idea in their head and launch it in 10 minutes to this person who was analyzing everything. And I got stuck. That's an understatement. Like I froze. I started to wonder what I was doing wrong. Every client began to disappear slowly. Everyone started to give me a reason why they wouldn't keep working with me. The money became a problem. Then the husband came up and had lost something. And then something came up in their life. And that is how I lost my 6-figure business. I got a wake-up call, and I recall having a conversation with this one coach. It is sometimes really advantageous to work with somebody for a long time because over time, that coach really understands what makes you tick. And when you fall out of that, they're able to draw you back. And so as much as I thought I wanted another level of the business, in as much as I wanted to be more expansive, in as much as I thought I had outgrown one level into the other, really the problem is I was slowly by slowly getting myself out of alignment. And I was trying to do things that looked good on paper, that people had used to make 10 figures, but they were out of alignment for Prima. And so what I began to really understand from this coach who said, Prima, the problem you have is this. You have lost your innovation. And I have never seen this. But your thing is, you get in the market, you spin like a washing machine, and if the market can catch a bit of you, they try. You know the kind of person who is going to follow the Tony Robbins model. You know the kind of person who is going to follow the Oprah model. You know the kind of person who is going to follow another person's model. The model that works for you is the model that you have to innovate and bring to the market. And the moment you lose this piece, you will struggle. And you guys, that's how I go back on my feet. An idea comes, I take it to market. Nothing else matters. I take it to market and build from there. I see step one, I take step one, and don't worry about the next step. Maybe this is not for you, but for someone like me, the clarity you're lacking is hidden in the motion you're not taking. And sometimes the friction you're feeling is because you're building out of alignment. There's going to be many things that can work. The 3 pillars, remember, 3 pillars. My thing is more like it needs to be simple. The moment I start to turn those 3 pillars into 12, I've lost a part of me that works because I work with simplicity. So there's a product here, which is an offer. There's an audience to market to, which is marketing. There's a process to convert leads into clients. That's all I need. And that is what you need as a coach. Most people have the genius to help another person. Most people are so good at what they do. Most people behind the scenes have some of the most success stories. But then you're not able to duplicate this and get more clients because you are trying to follow so much advice that you're starting to build out of alignment. Listen to how you feel. And if you feel like you're out of flow, it's possibly, that thing possibly is not the way. Some people are better positioned to build out of structure, and that is okay. Some people are structured to build by the book. The goal is to really scan the market, scan the strategies, and find out what is the strategy for me when it comes to product, marketing, and selling. I want to give you a story of what happened not so long ago. I wrote this in April or something, but I can't remember if that is when it happened. But this was in June 2023. I want to tell you how I made this money. I want to tell you how I made this money. I ran a campaign, a 30-day campaign, which was, I was raising my prices. My program had spent a year. We had people moving from 0 to 6 figures, people moving from 0 to 80,000, people moving from wherever they were to 50K, to 30K, to 20K. There was a lot of goodwill built from that business that I wanted to change my prices. I wanted to hike my prices. And so I decided to run a campaign, which is the price increase campaign. This campaign was 30 days. And so I started to talk about it. I told my audience, we've done some amazing things, and I'm at a point where I'm going to have to change my prices. I sang that song for 30 days. Within the first 25 days, no one cared about what I was saying. No one came and said, I want to join. Nobody. But then I just kept going. I didn't know if it would or wouldn't work. I just knew that the only way I can tell if it's going to work or not is if I do it. And so I just kept promoting as usual, said, hey, by the way, we have 5 days and the price is going up. And I have 5 slots. Deadline, and I wanted only 5 people in the program. 5 days left, nobody cared. 4 days left, nobody cared. I very quickly thought of a campaign I had learned called the squeeze campaign. This is a campaign that wasn't in my head when I started running the 30 days price increase campaign. It wasn't in my head. But then I had 3 days left and nobody had bought. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try this other thing. So I got the 3-day campaign and bolted it on the campaign I already had running. The 3-day campaign is simple. Every day, you send a couple of messages out, either on email, on Facebook, and you tell your people that this thing is going down, and if you don't buy it in 3 days, I'll close doors. So I started running that campaign. And I think 3 people bought in the 3rd day, 3 people bought. The program was 6K, it was going to 12K. And so 3 people bought, that was around 18,000. And I remember on the last day, when I woke up on the last day with 3 sales, something knocked my head and said, what about the people you already have? I had a number of clients by now, maybe it was a 6-figure business by now. And it was a group program. And there was no like other level. Like I didn't have another level. And something hit me, like this massive clarity hit me. And I said, maybe I should create another level, the premium level, and just sell the people that are in the program already. Because if more people come into this program, it might be tricky for me to deliver. It's going to be a big program. And so what I wanted to do was move some people up so I can create space down. But also people were not really as interested. And so I kept running the campaign. This thing struck my head. And then I went and messaged 6 of my clients who I loved so much. Like, this is like, heck yes, soulmate clients. I messaged them and I said, hey, I've just created the legacy wing. It's going to be me and you working more closely together. It's gonna be 12K instead of 6. If you're in, here's the link. I have 6 slots left. And what happened was shocking because all of the 6 people took me up. All of the 6 people took me up at $12,000. And that is how I made 96K. I had no idea of this plan. This plan was not in my head. All I knew is I was running a campaign for 30 days and I was going to increase my prices. Nobody bought. Nobody even reached out and said, tell me about the thing you're doing. 5 days later, 5 days to the close, I started increasing the frequency of the marketing. 3 people bought. 3 people bought. Each one bought the program for 6K. And then I had another day where nothing was happening. And then I had this window for 24 hours where I sold 6 slots at $12,000. I want you to envision that and see what could have gone wrong. I could have decided the thing wasn't working on day 15 or day 29 and thrown in the towel and said, I won't do this, nobody wants it. I could have decided I'll take the 3 sales. But see what happened? $96,000 in that month. Actually, that was $96,000 in 1 day. Or in 3 days. Because the rest of the month, really nothing happened, even though I built the momentum then. That is why I like to say in 30 days. But you can see that sometimes the clarity you're wanting will not unlock until you're in the fire. I like to say sometimes you need to introduce the lion in the room. And that's going to help you grow the wings to fly. And really what I want to end with is sometimes you are stagnated in business because you're stuck in your head analyzing things. The problem is when you overanalyze things. Like I spent 7 months of analyzing my brand. I had Google Docs and Google Docs of what I wanted to build. I sent my audience, my past clients, Google Docs and Google Docs to fill for me so I knew the correct copy. I spent months and months building these assets. When I launched the brand, guess what happened? Crickets. And the problem with this, of analyzing things, is when the thing fails, you get heartbroken because you fall in love with your own business, with the only idea, you fall in love with those things you've been creating in the head. You spend so much time with this idea that you think it must work. Whereas on the other side, the Prima that jumps to market, puts her idea out, people buy it or don't buy it, doesn't change anything. Because I spent a day thinking about the idea, it's in the market and now people don't like it. And so next, pivot or do something else. But if I spend 7 months putting something together and doesn't hit, that takes me back at least for a few days before I can get in momentum again. But sometimes you're really stuck in your head because you're trying to build out of alignment. And most people won't tell you that you're building out of alignment because they won't know. Sometimes you're stagnated, quite honestly, because you're trying to follow the Grant Cardone model or the whoever guru you follow model. Some people are trying to tell you DM selling is the thing. Okay, write content selling DMs. Yes, it works, but is it for you? Is it your thing? Is it the thing that you feel fire about? Others will tell you, you need to get people on the phone. Like the way I sell is I invite people into my world, I sit on a call with them, and I demonstrate what I can do for them by actually helping them. So I sit with my clients I sit with people who are qualified, and I demonstrate what I can do by giving them something out of my bag of tricks that can help them instantly. And if they want me to help them implement the whole plan we create together, they hire me. Now, I can sell in DMs, but unless somebody is a past client or has known me for ages, this is not my natural way of selling. I sell better when I sit with someone on the phone and genuinely help them with something. Now, I could try and hammer DMs all I want. It's just not the way I sell. But sometimes I sell in DMs because of the past relationship that I've had with someone. So if I give someone a demonstration call and they don't buy then, when they come back, now we can sell in DMs because the demonstration has already happened. When I've worked with a client before, now I don't need to get them on the phone because they already know what I can do for them. But if somebody is new to my world, the easiest way I get them from cold to soul is by sitting with them on the phone and cracking out a plan with them, giving them a few things from my bag of tricks which can help them right now, and saying, hey, do you want to build a whole plan together? Do you need help? That's my natural way, which is going to help me go. The moment I start doing these other things, challenges, I don't know what else has to be done. I don't know, endless content, then DMs, then masterclasses. It just doesn't work for me. But it doesn't mean that those things don't work. It just means they don't work for me. The moment I start doing these launches, I don't know, big launches, and I don't know, putting together all these things, I lose my own grip, which is get to market, share your message, someone raises the hand, sit with them, demonstrate, sell, and give them a good result and work off the benefits of that. There's many ways you can build this business, you guys, but listen to yourself and see where there's friction, see where there's resistance, see where things are not in flow. Because if you keep building out of alignment, you will get yourself out of flow, and there is nothing as unattractive as the lack of momentum for the person that is looking to buy from you. Challenges work, but are challenges for you. Challenges are typically for people who feel the need and desire to give people massive value for free and then pitch. Sometimes you have to do that because that's how you're wired. I don't need so much value upfront for me to buy from you. I just need you to demonstrate that you can help me by actually helping me. And so for me, the way I hire coaches is, can you move me from A to B? If you can move me from A to B without paying you, I'm willing to pay you to move me from B to Z. There's people who need to go through a lot of free content, hours and hours of videos to buy. That's just not me. There's people who speak in DMs and speak in DMs and speak in DMs until the sale is closed. That's just not me. I want to encourage you to think through these strategies and I'll say, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. I could write content for days and days. I don't mind writing. I also don't mind doing video. The thing that I can't get myself to do is polish, edit, delete, then have, I don't know, shiny things going on. That I can't do. And the moment I try to do it, I start freezing. Could other people do it for me? Yes, but the only thing I can control is I show up live and give you this thing. I want you to think your product, your marketing, your sales, and ask yourself, am I overcomplicating something? Am I overanalyzing something here? Am I putting so many pillars in the middle that no one needs? Am I making this harder than it has to be? There's a lot of coaches that have found ways to make this process more bulky, more complicated, and more cutesy. And one of my hard-earned lessons is simple is better. Simple and clear is better than clever. I don't know if that's some. I think I learned that from Rory Verdon. Simple is better than, I think clear is better than cutesy or something in that line. But the moment you get out of the simplicity and you drop the clarity and you go and start being fancy and you know all these things, it can go very, very south. I hope this was valuable to you. My lesson for you really is, if it feels out of alignment, it possibly has to go. Listen to how you feel about a strategy, and if it feels out of alignment, find some other way to achieve that goal. The second lesson I want you to take from this video is this. Sometimes the clarity you're looking for is hidden in the motion that you're not taking. And the third lesson I want you to go away with is this. Sometimes your best combination of strategies does not exist in the marketplace. Sometimes you're going to be the author, the innovator of this. The greatest and biggest innovations have come from people that were desperate to solve their own problems. And sometimes the answers you're looking for are going to be born by you. Sometimes you're the next big thing that we're waiting for. But if you lock yourself in all these gurus and what has been proven to work, we'll never get a chance to experience your innovation. So what I want to encourage you to do is listen to your heart, listen to how you feel, and if things are not in alignment, drop them, and just keep stacking up things that you feel you can do without forcing, and see where that lands, because that could end up landing into your next proprietary process. You do not have to implement the strategy that everybody has implemented. Could you pick lessons from people who've made it? Yes. But as you pick these lessons, as you learn from them, remember they don't have your DNA. And in as much as they give you the frameworks can be bent to work for you. And so instead of following things to the dot, start following your blueprint, your DNA blueprint to the dot. Start following how you feel about things. Start taking things to market and picking that. Get in motion and see what happens. Take the first step and see what the next step looks like. Get out of your head and take the step in faith knowing that the God you serve has a second step waiting for you. If this served you, give this a like, share it with a friend who is starting or already doing coaching consulting. Give this channel a subscription. Come back every week, because I will have something new at least every week. Sometimes I'll have one video, sometimes I'll have 2 videos, sometimes I'll have 3 videos. I'm creating this in the flow and I am not following any schedules, but we'll see how it goes. I hope this was insightful, and I will see you on the next episode. This has been the Prima Jope Show, and I hope you had fun.